I didn't plan to say it out loud. Some confessions are meant to stay buried, but the words came anyway, clean, sharp, irreversible. "We wish you were never born." My mother's voice didn't shake. That's what hurt the most. The room froze. A birthday banner sagged over cheap balloons, cake sweating under warm lights, relatives mid-laugh, mouths open, unsure whether this was a joke or a wound meant to bleed. I felt something inside me settle, not break, settle. I nodded once, slow, respectful, like I'd just received instructions. "Then I'll disappear," I said. No drama, no tears. I stood tall, picked up my jacket, and walked out. Behind me, silence tried to catch up. It failed. I'm telling this now because people think revenge is loud. They think it screams. It doesn't. It listens. The first betrayal didn't start that night. It started years earlier, quietly, the way rot does. I used to believe my family was difficult but loyal. Hard words, soft intentions. That was the story I told myself because the alternative was unbearable. My mother raised me alone after my father vanished into a second life he never admitted to. She became iron, efficient, cold when necessary, proud of surviving. I admired her. That was my first mistake. I learned early to earn affection, grades, silence, obedience. I became useful, reliable, invisible when required. At family gatherings, I was the helper, the fixer, the one who arrived early and left late. I paid for things quietly, covered gaps, absorbed insults dressed as jokes. "You're too sensitive. You should be grateful. We sacrificed everything for you." I believed them. That was my second mistake. The cracks started showing when I succeeded without permission. A good job, financial independence, a calm life built away from the noise. I stopped asking, stopped explaining. I showed up less, smiled more selectively. They noticed. Control doesn't like distance. My mother's tone shifted first. Compliments sharpened, pride turned conditional. "You think you're better now? Don't forget where you came from." At the same time, my siblings leaned in closer. To her, I watched alliances form in side glances and shared silences, group chats I wasn't in, decisions made without me, then presented as obligations. I didn't confront anyone. I observed. Patterns are louder than accusations. The party was supposed to be neutral ground, a cousin's engagement, safe, public, no explosions. I arrived with a gift and an exit plan. Always have an exit plan. I noticed the seating immediately. Me at the edge, my mother at the center, surrounded by nodding heads. A throne disguised as a dining chair. She waited until the room was full. Timing matters. Someone made a joke about family, about legacy, about how children owe their parents everything. My mother smiled. Then she looked at me. "You know," she said, voice light, "sometimes I think our lives would have been easier if some people were never born." Laughter rippled, nervous, testing. She didn't look away. Her eyes locked on mine. And then she finished it. "We wish you were never born." That was the revelation, the final piece snapping into place. This wasn't carelessness. It was intent. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply accepted the truth she finally stopped hiding. "Then I'll disappear." I walked out. No one followed. They never do. Disappearing isn't vanishing. It's repositioning. I sat in my car, engine off, phone face down. I counted my breaths, 1 through 5. Again. I gave them 30 minutes. That's how long it took. First call, my aunt. Missed. Second, my brother. Ignored. Third, my mother. I let it ring, because while they were laughing, I had already moved the pieces. You see, I'd been preparing long before the party. I handled the finances no one wanted to understand. Bills, accounts, property paperwork, the unglamorous infrastructure of their comfort. Just put it in your name for now. You're good with numbers. We trust you. Trust is a weapon when returned correctly. Over the past year, I documented everything: transactions, messages, voice notes, casual admissions of tax evasion, fraud disguised as family convenience. I never threatened. I archived. I consulted a lawyer quietly, then another. Redundancy matters. Everything I did was legal. That's what made it irreversible. At minute 31, the panic started. The cake was being cut when my brother noticed his card declined. The caterer hadn't been paid. The venue manager asked questions. My phone lit up like a crime scene. I answered the fourth call. "What did you do?" my mother hissed. Her voice was finally shaking. "I disappeared," I said, "just like you wanted." Confusion is a beautiful thing when earned. I'd frozen accounts tied to my name, redirected payments, transferred ownership back where it legally belonged. Mine. The house they lived in? Mine. The business account? Mine. The car lease? My signature. I didn't steal. I reclaimed. Within the hour, guests were whispering. The engagement party dissolved into logistics and embarrassment. Smiles collapsed. Masks slipped. My mother tried to spin it. She always does. He's emotional. He misunderstood. He's always been difficult. But the numbers didn't lie, and neither did the documents. The confrontation came the next morning. She stood in my doorway like a stranger, smaller, older, unarmed. "You humiliated me," she said. I studied her face. I felt nothing sharp, just clarity. "You freed me," I replied. She reached for guilt, her favorite tool. "After everything I did for you, you said you wished I was never born." Silence. I leaned closer. So I corrected the timeline. The fallout was surgical. Legal notices, payment deadlines, conversations with authorities they'd never expected, friends who stopped answering calls. Reputation is fragile when built on convenience. My siblings blamed me publicly, begged privately. I kept every message. Evidence of character always surfaces under pressure. I didn't gloat. I didn't explain. I let consequences speak. Weeks later, I drove past the old house, empty, for sale, a sign crooked in the yard. I didn't stop. Revenge isn't about watching someone suffer. It's about removing their ability to harm you again. Now, when I think of that night, I don't feel anger. I feel relief. Because sometimes the cruelest thing someone can say is also the most honest. And honesty, once revealed, becomes permission. They wished I was never born. I disappeared. And in the silence I left behind, I finally existed.